It is Friday, March 15th, 2019. The city of Denver and the surrounding area has just come through something I had never heard of before called a bomb cyclone, wherein we had a incredible low pressure system come to the state, dropping the barometer to depths of which they had never seen, and it caused cyclone speed winds of up to 100 miles an hour in some cases. And though we didn't get a huge amount of snow, this blizzard created havoc on the city, and I was fine and my husband was fine, but a lot of the city was not fine. There were 50 car pileups, and the airport was closed, and the roads were closed everywhere, and it was a nightmare. And we are digging out. It's a blue sky, beautiful day. There's so much glare on the snow that I'm sitting in the spare bedroom to tape this because it's just too bright throughout the house. So that's a good thing. The sun's coming out on a pretty gloomy day in terms of the world and all of its sadnesses and tragedies and terrors. So one book I read was Ann Patchett's State of Wonder, and a plus for this book was that the writing is so strong and the characters are really well written, so that you get a sense of the world that Ann Patchett is trying to create. So I did enjoy that aspect of the novel. On the other hand, I felt that the plot was so unbelievable and so hard to dispel my disbelief that it did detract from the writing. The story is about a resident, or she was a resident, an OBGYN resident, and very early on in the story, as she's recollecting this, she had had an accident when she was delivering a baby, and she had to do an emergency C-section, and an accident was caused. And the professor who was the supervising physician, and she never spoke again. Flash forward, I think many years later, she's a researcher for a pharmaceutical company, and they're trying to develop a drug to extend a woman's fertility. And through a whole set of circumstances, her research partner had gone into Africa to talk with the person who was developing the drug, who happened to be the mentor, the professor from the residency program. I ended up giving it 4 stars, but I really, in my heart, gave it 3.5 stars. Another book I finished recently was Interitance, a memoir of genealogy, paternity, and love by Dani Shapiro. This is her story and her memoir about taking a DNA test through 23andMe and finding out that her father could not have been her biological father. And it's a very short memoir, and it's very heartfelt. I listened to the audiobook, and I liked hearing her read it. So if you're interested in the conundrums of the ethics of DNA testing and how it can impact a real life and a real family, and in fact 2 families, this would be a good one for you. I also finished 9 Coaches Waiting by Mary Stewart. This was a fantastic take on the Gothic governess orphan story. It's full of nail-biting tension, action, angst, and romance. Mel from Mel's Bookland Adventures said it was the best Mary Stewart, and I chose it for a book club, and I can't wait to see how everyone gets along with it. But it was a lot of fun. I couldn't put it down. I'm also having trouble with the Marching Mammoths Readathon. Sorry, everyone. I got very invested and hyped up to be a part of reading a really long book, and I'm finding that for whatever reason this month, I'm just not able to have the concentration and the chunks of time it takes to really get into a long book. I tried reading the Luminaries, and I really like the writing, and I think the story is probably ultimately fantastic, and I will read it sometime, but I know I won't finish it by the end of March. And then I DNF'd that book and put it on back to read, and then started reading The Way We Live Now by Anthony Trollope. And again, really interested in the story and the characters, but there are so many characters and there's so much happening that I'm just not taking it in, and then I don't want to go back to it when I could be reading something shorter. So as of now, I will just keep reading that book and seeing, how long it takes me. And if it takes me 3 months, that's fine. I don't need to get caught up in the anxiety of readathons. And I can enjoy watching everyone else's videos about their readathon experience. So that's my plan. I'm currently reading One Good Turn, which is Kate Atkinson's second in her Jackson Brodie series. That was another one that took me a long time to get into the story, but now I'm about 40% in, and now I'm invested in the story, and we'll keep going with that. And I also have been kind of picking through Dreyer's English, which is an utterly correct guide to clarity and style, and it's hard to say that you just want to sit down and read this page, cover to cover. But so I've been picking through it, and I thought we're in the miscellaneous realities of fiction chapter, and I thought you might enjoy this little tidbit if you're writing fiction. He says, "And I implore you, do not attempt here in the 21st century to convey the utterance of a character who may be speaking other than what, for the sake of convenience, I'll call standard English, with the use of tortured phonetic spellings, the relentless replacement of terminal G's with apostrophes, or any of the other tricks that might have worked for Mark Twain, Zora Neale Hurston, or William Faulkner, but here, I assure you, are not going to work for you. At best, you'll come off as classist and condescending. At worst, in some cases, you'll tip over into racism." So he's got such a great sense of humor and such a matter of fact, do not do this thing while you're writing or while you're editing. And I enjoy that voice. So if you're a writer, or if you are an editor, or if you just love language, or you're interested in the origins of things, you might want to pick this up. And, that's all I've got for now. That's it. I will talk to you later.